Don't you love that intro?
I love it. All right.
All right. Good evening, everyone. And we are here again for another episode of Photo Talk Show.
Yep. Today we're going to be doing questions and answers. We got a bunch of questions from some of our patrons, and we plan on answering them.
So
let's see. So the first question we have.
I just want to remind people that are watching the live, if you have questions, just drop a comment. We're going to answer all the questions we get today.
Or try to.
So the first question is...
I love taking action shots of my kids playing sports. How do I get those crisp shots? Especially on cloudy, yucky days. Good question.
I still don't know what is a yucky day, but it's okay. I will stick with the cloudy part.
All right. So sports is a very high speed, high action thing. So what you have to understand is that you want to have your speed at least 600 speed, roughly. If you can go higher, you can. One thing with sports is because the distance of it. In most sports, you're on a sideline or you're in a bleachers or you're further away than what you're not like right on top of them, like as if you're in the studio.
Yep.
With action shots, you want to keep your f-stops down to as low as you possibly can go.
You have to give yourself some room to shoot. Even using AI servo, you need some room to get the depth of field and don't miss the
right. See, with most sports like football, baseball, basketball, hockey, golf, I usually stay around 2.8 because the distance that you are away from the sports action is usually a lot further than normal, but you also want to have a lens that can reach that far. So having a 200 to 100, 400, 200 lens, you can even put extenders on them to get you a little bit further.
Does the crop sensor makes any difference on the depth of field when you are talking about that kind of shot?
Not from that distance. What you're looking at is, your crop sensor is there, and there's a misnomer of a crop sensor to a regular full frame sensor. Okay, your full frame sensor gives you exactly what the compression is and everything like that. When you're looking at something that goes into a crop sensor, they say it's equivalent to, but it's actually still the same distance. You're just using a smaller portion of the lens.
Portion of the sensor, yeah.
So the lens isn't being utilized to its maximum capacity. So it gives you an illusion of being a longer lens. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, and with sports, you definitely want to have AI servo for sure. That will keep it constantly moving. Single point is usually best, and then you could put that point on the person or the individual that's doing the action. The AI servo will track. And when it tracks something coming to and from. It doesn't really track side to side. I don't know.
You have to keep the point. You have to keep the point right in the person, or else you're gonna miss it. So
right.
If the person starts to run to that side, you have to move your camera and keep the point on it.
And one big thing about it is you also want to make sure that you're running in a high speed shoot. You want your speed to be multiple exposures with the press of your button. And the reason why is because all cameras are going to miss. So don't think you're going to get every single shot clear. That's impossible. Okay. I don't care. I mean, even my buddy that works for the San Francisco 49ers will tell you he misses too. It just happens. You're going to miss it. All right.
I had some hard time when I start to do foot races. I couldn't get like half of my shots right, so I kind of came up with a system. I use for that kind of shot. I use like f6.1. The double, or at least if I was using a full frame, I was using the speed, the same speed as the length of my lens. Or if I'm using a cropped sensor, the double of the cropped sensor, and then I just control the ISO to get the right exposure.
Sure. But in running, you're also in the road.
Yeah.
They're coming at you. So, I mean, when you're doing a track meet, for instance, they're going to be running around the track and you're going to be in the stands. If you're in football, you're in the stands. You may be able to get on the playing field. I know I do all the time. And getting in the playing field, you get a little bit closer, which gets you a lot better shots.
Mm-hmm.
But you still got the same fundamental of having that focus point, having to be on the actor that you're trying to shoot. Yeah. And if you don't, you're going to miss. And there's times that, just say they swerve to the left, you might pick up the goalpost in the back. I mean, it happens.
They were usually running towards me. I was in the middle of the street and they are running towards me. So if f stop like with my aperture like f6.1, I could just put my focus point on the plate, the chest plate.
Right.
And I knew that with that depth of field, I could get their face sharp. So,
exactly.
But it's kind of trial and error. You have to do it like a few times to get how much depth of field you need for that kind of shot. There's no other way.
No. And like I said, most sports are so far away that, and then there's also gyms. I mean, if say like it's a basketball or a gymnastics or some indoor activity, right? Now you got to fight with multiple lighting sources. Usually it's some type of gas light bulbs, and you're gonna have to tweak your ISO probably to about over 1200 easily. I mean, I've been up in the 2000 ranges a lot in high school gyms or small gymnasiums that use those horrible lights.
Yeah, and they're not even strong enough for you to be able to put your ISO down.
Yeah, and that's where 2.8 is really viable, because you don't want to go too high in an ISO, because then you're going to start getting a lot of noise in your images. And those noises are, like I said, I'm up usually in the 1200 range when I shoot mine, and it's at 2.8 all the time. I don't think I've ever moved out of 2.8, because I mean, you're in the stands, you're way further than 10 feet away from them.
But do you recommend going more open than 2.8, like 1.8, 1.4?
Well, yeah, if you got the power, sure. But like, I shoot 7200 2.8 when I'm out in sports. I mean, that's my go-to lens. I'm always using it. Then I've also got, my 100-400, and that's a beast of a lens, but it's a
f5.6.
Yeah, 4.5. Or no, 5.6. That one's a 5.6.
I think it's 5.6.
And that's the lowest I can go. but that's only used on outside. I don't really use that in the inside because most gymnasiums, the 200 is far enough. I can basically get anywhere in the gymnasium. So that makes a big difference.
Sure. 100 to 400 is a beast.
Yeah, it's one heavy lens for one, and you need space. And I usually use it for football. That's
do you use monopods for that kind of shot? I couldn't handle it. I could get used to it.
It takes a little bit to get used to, but it's good for rapid deployment. So, especially when you got the 100 to 400 lens, it's a heavy lens. You're not going to handhold this lens all day. Trust me, your arms will shake. You'll have so much fatigue, it's ridiculous. But by mounting it to, a nice monopod, it's great because then action may move to the left. You could just pick it up, move it, and drop it, while your head's still on it. So you're like this, and you're like, oh, plus.
It was hard for me because of the vertical move. Because sometimes I was shooting like the guy more close to me. He's running towards me, so I'm closer.
Right.
Sometimes I have to get the guy a bit more far. So I turn my zoom. I use a 7-200 too. And then composition. My frame is not okay. My composition is garbage. So I had to kind of move, and it was hard to deal with that with the monopod.
Mm-hmm. And I get that, and that's why I have a second one that's on my side. The second one has a wider angle lens, so that way, if I got my 100 whatever, it's latched to my neck. So all I got to do is drop it, and I grab and I pull, and I just start shooting with the closer lens.
I never did that, but once I did something that was really cool, but I didn't get any picture that I could use. That was I mounted a flash in the track, and I put a camera in the floor with a wide angle lenses with a remote trigger. So every time I shot with the camera on my hand, it will shot the other one too. So I got another camera just taking pictures for me. It was really funny. But
I don't think I've ever done that. I know in most sports here, where I'm at in Alabama, you can't have flash. So that's one thing. I think a lot of sports are doing that now, where you can't bring flash into the stadiums and stuff like that.
To be honest, I think Brazil, they are forbidden to. I just did that because I used to do races.
So now you're dealing with ambient light, and know your exposure triangle because it's needed. Yeah. But I can tell you 1/600th of a second. I mean, I've even gotten down to I'm trying to think. I got it down to 1/400th of a second. It was probably the slowest I can get with sports, but that was like gymnastics it was gymnastics.
Yeah, I keep around that too.
Yeah, I'm usually at 1/600th of a second when it comes to high movement sports, and it works out great. So, keep that focus point in the chest area and shoot away.
Yeah, just a small recap. Faster shutter speed, give yourself some room with depth of field, and change it to AI servo, and keep the focus point in the chest of the person or another big area. And of course, do some trying with your depth of field so you can get the whole shot in focus.
Right.
Did I forget something?
And the mirrorless cameras now have a great head finder. So one thing I've been finding out with the new, what is it, Canon D5, 5D, R5,
R5 and R6.
I actually borrowed one, and I actually like it. It's fast. It's fast enough for what I need. I can tell you the EOS R is not so fast. You might get 2 shots. The movement is so quick. It's
I will be honest with you. Using to shoot races, I usually do with a 70, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping
Yeah.
to a EOSR will be like a major upgrade for me, you know.
Yeah, I use my 5D Mark IV when I'm shooting that. I mean, the 5D Mark IV, I love it. It's a workhorse, and it's the one that I use for sports specifically.
JPEGs.
One is the blackout screens. Yeah, some people say it doesn't really do anything, but to me it does. I don't know.
Just one last question about the topic. When you are doing sports, you shoot RAW or JPEG?
I always shoot JPEG.
Me too.
Yeah. No. JPEG will allow your camera to move faster and get you without a buffer hit.
I
The
get 11
buffer,
frames per second with the 70 in JPEGs.
yeah, the
Okay.
buffer is the worst part, especially in like the EOS R. It's I shoot with V90 cards, so my cards are 500 megabytes per second. So I make sure that there's plenty of speed, but I have to have that. It has to be fast enough and be able to download those files quick enough in order to make sure that all the shots that you take are good. So
Just to point it out, I think he already left, but let me take this comment out. We have the presence of a Brazilian photographer who is a YouTuber too. There is Andrei Lange. He has a big channel in Brazil. Boa noite, abraço, Andrei. Depois eu entro lá no Insta e converso contigo. I'm sorry.
hello. Oh wait, wasn't it? Oi.
Oi, yeah. No, Romeo speaks
Got it.
Portuguese.
So
Okay,
I'm learning.
let's go to our next question. There is kind of related, but no, let's take the sport topic out. I just don't seem to quite nail focus. I think I am. And then when I see the shot later, I will notice that maybe the person's hands are more in focus than their face.
Okay, that is all f-stop. Okay, it's probably because you're trying to shoot at a very low aperture. In most cases that I've seen from most people, they'll be shooting at like a 1.4, 1.8 with the STM50.
They paid for a lens with 1.4, so they have to shoot it. 1.
Yeah, they want the sweet bokeh swirl. That's like, I don't know what it is with beginners, but that's like the first thing they want. And but
Come
I get
on,
it.
you remember we think it's beautiful, and we
I
want
get
to
it.
do it.
I thought I'd had to do that too. Hey, when I was young and dumb, I didn't know either. But at the same time, get away from that lowest aperture. Always be 2 to 3 stops higher than the lowest aperture. That is the sweet spot of the lens. Okay. So if you're at a 2.8, be at a 5.6, 3.5. Because that's going to give you the sharpest. If you're 3 stops above, you're going to have the sharpest point of your lens. That's how they're tested.
When you can see any graphics around the internet, is almost always 3 stops down. You have the sweet spot for that lens. It doesn't matter which lens. It doesn't matter which source you're going to see the graphics. It's always like 2 or 3 stops down. You get the sweet spot.
Yep. And, that sweet spot is literally the lens's best focal point. So one thing you got to learn is it's not just the f-stop. It's also your distance. Okay. The more distance you are from the person, the bigger that focus area becomes.
Yeah.
So if you're at 10 feet at 3.5, you may have a foot. But then when you move 12 or 15 feet, you may have 1.5 to 3, depending on what you're using. So that's one area that you have to look at is how far are you from that subject. And what's crazy is if you get close to the subject and you shoot them at a f5 or even an f8,
You're
you
gonna get
get
much more bokeh, much more.
bokeh.
As long as
Happens.
the lens, as close as you are to the subject, you're gonna just blow up bokeh. Rome has, I don't know, we didn't prepare for this, but Rome has some pictures that he shot like f8 that has more bokeh than my pictures at f1.4.
Probably. I got a lot of pictures. But yeah, it's, basically it's distance. Distance is your killer. If you're up 5 feet up next to the person, they'll be shooting at 2.8. You're going to get their hands out of focus. Hell, you're going to get their nose out of focus. I mean, you're looking at probably, if you're at a 1.4, you're looking at 0.35 of an inch. I mean, that's like the eyeball.
I have beauty shots that I did with the 72-200 at 200 f4 that I got the eye in focus and the nose was out.
Yeah, and you're probably what, 5 feet from them?
I don't know feet, but probably around it.
Wow.
We have some kind of
centimeters?
conversion problem here. Yeah. I was at minimal focus distance. I think it's 120 centimeters.
Right. And so that, the compression from that alone is going to make it small. And another thing that you want to think of is if you want bokeh is the distance behind them. So if a wall is 3 feet away from the subject, you're not going to get bokeh. If that wall is 100 feet away from the subject, you're going to start to see more of the bokeh happening. If it's 1,000 yards away, guaranteed you got bokeh.
Yeah. So Rome talked about depth of field. Just in case, this is the most common problem, but just in case, set your camera for just one focus point, because this is something that people already do. They leave it in the automatic choice for the focus point.
Yeah. Single focus point all the time.
All the time.
Yep.
Give yourself some room, again, the same as the sport picture. And if you want bokeh, just don't bring your aperture down. Just get close to the subject. Use a longer lens and put the background as far as you can. You get the same amount of bokeh. You don't need to shoot at f4.
I mean, you could try it at home. Get something like if you have kids, get a Ninja Turtle. Stick them up there on a table, and shoot the Ninja Turtle with like a long distance behind it, and shoot from 3 feet, shoot from 6 feet, shoot from 7 feet, shoot from 9 feet, and learn the lens. That's the thing, is you have to learn that lens, because I hate to say it, but every lens is different too. It's just like a new camera. So, some lenses have soft focus, especially if you're at the 1.4 range, you guaranteed you're going to have a soft focus. But some lenses don't. Some lenses are sharp even at 1.4, but it's only sharp for about a blade of grass, at 2 feet. It just depends on how you're shooting. And one thing I used to do with a lot of the students, because, I teach kids, is I would have them set up 3 different ones in a distance pattern. So it'd be one here, and then one way back here. And then they would aim for the middle guy, and they would back up, and they come forward, just shooting that middle person. So
I did that with batteries.
Yeah, batteries. I mean, you could basically take anything. And you can see how as you back up, both of them start becoming a little more clear. And the further you go, the more clear it becomes. And then you get to learn, the distances and issues, and how further away from them, you start to see the background will start getting clear as you're going back. And, it's a good way to put it. So that way, when you're learning your lenses, you actually do it by steps and increments. And that goes to go with the whole mantra of times two. Okay. Everything is basically times two. Your f stops are times two. Each stop is 2 times itself, right? If you're looking at exposure for light, every doubling, you're losing 1 stop of light every time. So it's the same factor that you're going to look at for your lens. Double it every time. If you're at 2 feet, go to 4 feet. You're at 4 feet, go to 8 feet.
That's the thing. Sometimes it's hard to understand about photography, but when the bell rings, things get easier because everything is measured on doubles and halves.
Yep.
So your shutter speed, okay, you can set your camera for thirds or for half, but your shutter speed, your ISO, your f-stops, your flash, your speed light, all the positions you change are always doubling or dividing by half. When you understand that, life makes much more sense,
Exactly. It's the doubling factor. Like when I do studio lights, I used to change. If I went 1 inch to the right, I went 2 inches to the right. Then I went 4 inches to the right. Then I went, I just kept doing it in doubles from camera access. And I'd take a picture because every time light changes. Every time. And then I would take it and I'd go up 2 inches and then up a little more, 2 inches, 4 inches. Then I'd go up another 8 inches. And I'd just see how each time it does something different. And the same thing with shutter speed and ISO and, everything. When you go double, you've done a stop of light. So that's the easiest way to remember it. And if you remember, you have 1 and 1.5, right? From there, if you double, so if you double 1, it's now f2, right? 1.5 double. You see how that little run goes? So once we get all that dialed in, now, of course, your cameras are in thirds. Most cameras are set up in thirds. And with the third of stops, it's kind of nice because every 3 clicks is a stop of light.
Yep.
Which
when I read that, I stopped looking to the screen. 3 clicks, 1 stop. 3 clicks, 1 stop.
Yeah. I mean, it's and what's good to know about the 3-click rule is that learning the exposure triangle runs off of that 3-click rule, which I think we're going to go into that next question, aren't we?
Yeah, next question. I just want to point one thing. There are 2 exercises that helped me a lot with photography. One was this one you just told, like a series of subjects, it doesn't matter what, and you point to each one, and then you take distance and point again to each one so you can compare. And the other one is the egg exercise. You have the egg exercise.
Gotta know the egg.
Oh, the egg exercise is so cool.
And, I think we nailed nailing focus. So I guess we move into more of lighting because that's where eggs are. So let's see. The next question.
I still don't understand the
exposure triangle. All right. So the exposure triangle is made up of 3 sides. And I always say there's a 4th in the middle, which is light. Nobody ever talks about it, but I will.
Oh, I still put one more, the light distance. Because light, you can control the power of the light.
Right.
You can control with the light distance too.
And that's what I'm saying by light. It's a whole another dimension that no one ever talks about. So basically, it's like a pyramid, right?
Yep.
They see one side, which is, of course, your ISO, your shutter speed, and your depth of field. But there's the light pattern also, which that's on the other side. So in understanding the exposure triangle, Okay. One, learn your f-stops. Learn them until you know every single one of your f-stops, back, front, forward, left, right. Okay. From there, because why do we want to know the f-stops? Well, one, you want to determine how much depth of field you want in your picture. That's the first thing you should ever think about. So, if I'm shooting in a studio, I want to make sure that person is going to be completely clear, especially if I'm doing a full body or a half body. If I'm doing clothing, if you're taking a picture of food, right? I know we got some food photographers that watch us.
Yep.
If you just want that sweet spot of that sandwich that's all moist and yummy looking, right? But you want everything else to kind of fade off. Well, you got to know that f-stop that needs to be there. And that's where those exercises kind of came into play. So, I need a, 1.5 for this, or I need a 2.8 at, a foot and a half away. And once you determine that, now you move into the rest of your triangle. So we have, let's see.
Let me put something. So Rome is talking about a view in the studio. So where depth of field is the most important configuration. Like when we are talking about sports, depth of field is something important, but speed is another thing that is important. So you're gonna try to balance. You're looking for a picture of the exposure triangle. You can keep talking, and I pop it up.
Oh no, I was gonna bring up the
Oh,
little dealio.
okay.
So again, we're using the software, and just to show you kind of what we were talking about. And if you look here, okay, these are your f-stops. Okay, so if you're at 2.8, right, these are the thirds to those f-stops. So remember when I was saying the clicking, okay? So if you was at 2.8, right, which as you can see, it's extremely bright. All right, I think I was at f8.
This satellite allows you to see depth of field.
Yeah. So we got f8. So if you look at this chart here, okay, f8's here. You got 1, 2, 3 stops, right? So now if I want to go to 2.8, I got to drop 3 stops of light because I've just increased it by 3 stops of light, right? So where do you get those 3 stops of light? Well, one you have ISO, and the other one you have is your shutter speed. Okay, so if I could drop 3 stops of light, that means I need to increase the speed 3 times in order to make it darker. So if I needed 3 stops, well, 2 times 200 is 400. That'd be 1, right?
Yep.
But if you look, it's 1, 2, 3 clicks. That's 1. 1, 2, 3 clicks. That's 2. 1, 2, 3 clicks. There's 3. So if I shoot this at 1600, watch what it.
Oh, you changed the dials? No.
Huh?
I thought you were changing the ISO. For some reason, I looked to the.
I'm on the speed. So, we go to 1600 for 3. Looks like it doesn't want to do it. 1, 2, 3. All right, we're increasing there. I'm at 100, so I can't go any lower there. So let's see. Increase. So
It's just a way of finding
software don't like it
in between the 3 parameters. So you have 3 wheels to turn each one of them turns in the same amount, like 1/3 of a stop, and you have to balance those three to get the right exposure to the picture.
Right. It's like here we're up probably a stop and a half.
Yeah.
Let's go to 9. So now we're a little closer. 8. There we go. So when we're looking at this, all right, so we have ISO 100 is the lowest it could possibly go. All right. So if I just come over here and I change my light intensity down. Okay. Now if I bring it up. Let's go about 4. All right. So now that the light intensity is down, I could bring it to an F4. But F4, if you notice, the ear is starting to kind of get it's getting a little fuzzy in that back area. So if we bring it back up to an F5, now we can bring in our ISO and increase that. We can bring it back to the light. So when you're looking at it, all three of these played together. Okay. Your f-stop, like I said, that's the first thing you want to determine. Once you got that determined, okay, then you can move into ISO, which normally you want to be as low as you can for the most clearest image. So in this case, I'm going to go ISO 100. As you can see, it's dark, right? So to get the darkness to come away, you slow down your shutter speed. In this case, it's looking like...
It's just a matter that when you find the right exposure, you can just compensate on any of the three sides, 4 sides with take light in consideration. You just need to compensate to get the right amount of light. So if you turn down 3 clicks in one of the sides, you're gonna have to go up 3 clicks in the other side.
And then one thing you want to notice is you're shooting at 85, right? So if you're at 85 millimeters, you don't want to go less than 85 millimeters or you'll get camera shake. Okay. So in setting up your shutter speed, like in this case, it's 1/100th of a second. I'm over 85. That's enough speed. So if the model does do a little move, you won't get the motion blur unless she really moves. But in most cases, 1/100th of a second is pretty decent. But now she's still dark, so I'm just going to increase the ISO. Say 160. There we go.
Now you are at F5. Let's suppose I want to get this to F8 without changing the shutter speed, because supposedly we are working with strobes. So how do you bring this to F8?
All right. So F8, you're going to decrease the light by 1, 2, 3, 4 clicks, right?
Yep.
So when you go down 4 clicks, you're now decreasing the light by 4 clicks.
You got darker.
You don't want to move your shutter speed. So that means you have to go to your third leg, which is ISO. And we went 4 darker. So now we need 4 lighter light. The higher the ISO, the more light. Well, technically it's the more noise, which creates it to be brighter. So in this case, we need to go 4. And then we're back to where we were.
Just asking those questions, and I will ask 2 more just to be clear, so people who doesn't understand can get it. So let's suppose now that we already fixed it here. So let's suppose now that we are not using strobes,
Mhm.
and we are just, I don't know, shooting a basketball game, and we need our speed like 1/600, 1 over something faster.
Okay. So now, again, if you remember in sports, you want it to be a low f-stop for one. But in this case, let's say we want it probably about 1/640 to 1/800. I usually do about 1/640. Okay. Which is crazy because I've noticed that this does not change. But at
I
1/640,
have just one question.
yep,
What lights you are using? Strobes?
right now, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like being on a constant.
It's
So
constant in
yeah,
the on satellite?
yeah, it's like being on a constant.
Weird.
It shows the final spot. So let's say you're using a 7200. All right. There we go. All right. And 640 is where you want to be in seconds. You want to be down to the 2.8, which is funny because this is not doing what I expected it to do. All right. Well, let's go check something out here. Let's see if we can change this. Doo-doo. I actually found a bug. I get to get with them and say, hey, I found a bug in your stuff. So let's see here. These are all the modifiers, by the way. They have a lot of modifiers.
It's a great software.
Let's see here. I don't see except for a rain flash. It's funny how I just made a rain flash super bright. All right. Well, that's because it says 1,000 watts. Duh. 150. This is interesting. So let's switch this around here.
So while Rome fixed the set, so we discussed it. We did the speed, sorry, the aperture, and now we are trying to set the software so we can do the sports. And there is the fourth part of the equation. There is the light. We can change the amount of light in the scene, and this you probably affect any of the other three factors. So at least if we're working with strobes, we affect two of them, the ISO and the aperture. If we are working with constant light, we will affect the three of them. You can compensate on any of the three.
Yeah, and I'm just setting up lights over here to get this to look somewhat like a stadium with lights way up high.
I'll bring you back to the image, okay?
That's fine.
We're both here. So while that, I have another question here, and I will bring it up. While you fix that, then we come back to this one.
Okay.
This is an easy one. Let me see, where is it? How to set your camera for different types of light: sunny, cloudy, shade. It all depends on the. It all depends on the kind of light you're going to set your white balance. There are several ways of doing. There are presets in your camera. that you can set for each type of light. You can do a custom white balance using one of these ones. There is a gray card. This is a small one. Rome has a bigger one there. You have yours there, Rome. Can you just show it to the camera while you do that?
This is my puppy.
That's amazing one. This is too small, but it works. So you can just go to your camera, take a picture of the card, and go to the custom white balance on Canons are under menu, and you choose the custom one. It will evaluate this gray, and you set your camera for that. The third one is using kelvins. This is a bit more advanced, so you have to know how many kelvins the light you are using is set to. So right now I'm using right here as my main light is 5600 kelvins, but I used CTO gel on it. So instead of coming with 5600 kelvins, it's coming a bit lower than that. Then I didn't set using kelvins, I set using custom white balance. So it's basically this. When you are out, you are doing outdoor photography, you can just use the presets according to the day, or you can just shoot a gray card and select the custom white balance.
Yep. So now I guess we can come back in.
Are you suffering right now, Brian? Brian is with us, Ron.
Surfing during sunset, losing light. Yeah, you're going to lose it quick too.
But are you surfing or are you taking pictures of people suffering?
Probably both. It's Brian.
Did you got the light to work?
For different types of light: sunny, cloudy, and shade. Okay. Well, there's what's called the Sunny 16 rule. Okay. Sunny 16 rule is basically ISO 100, which is shutter speed of 1/100th of a second at f16, full sun. Okay. If it becomes cloudy, they say to you go to f11, and you should still get the same exposure. This is an old film thing. Okay.
And it works and it's amazing. Let's not make fun of the old things because the old things really work.
Hey, film, it works great. Okay. I actually have to say with digital, I found that you actually have to go down about a stop.
Really?
I say f11 actually works pretty well in full sun.
Because usually is use the same number as your shutter, as your ISO, and you have f16 for sunny days,
right?
11 or 8 for cloudy days,
right? And that's with digital. And with digital, like each camera is a little different. Again, with those being different, you just got to understand which one yours is for, or which one yours will do. But as a rule of thumb, it's you match your ISO with your shutter speed and you go to f16. That's the rule of thumb. Do I do it all the time?
It's the first step.
When you get on the scene and it's full sun, you have not a cloud in the sky, my camera automatically goes to ISO 100, speed 100, f16 every single time. It's just old habit, I guess. But when I do that, I know that I am the optimal area, and then I can adjust very quickly from there.
And that we just do what we just thought. There is compensating because you don't want to shoot at f16.
Well, you always want to know your reciprocals. Okay. When you start at one location, what you're doing is you're learning your reciprocal to that. So say if I don't want to be at f16, I never shoot at f16. I don't ever want to be at f16. But if f16 has got me on point with the Sunny 16 rule, I know I can adjust now by learning how many stops go back down to, say, 5.6.
16, 11, 8, 5.6. 4 stops.
Exactly. So it's 4 stops. So now you need to get 4 stops somewhere else.
4 stops or 12 clicks of your wheel. It doesn't matter which of the parameters. But remember just one thing that we didn't mention. Entry-level cameras don't have third of stop for ISO. So your ISO, if you have an entry-level camera.
Depends on the make.
For Canons, at least.
Yeah.
All the T3s, T3Is.
T3I, all of them.
It's just ISO is always a stop. Is never a third. So every time when you are changing your ISO, every time you turn the wheel, it will be like 3 clicks for shutter and for aperture. We're almost.
ISO's playing with them. And I'm trying to remember. I think the I can't remember. I think the T3I and stuff can do half stops, if I'm not mistaken.
Not for ISO. They can do thirds and halves for shutter speed and aperture. I have a T4I right on my side. But for ISO, they can't. ISO is always one stop. And Brian is saying that he needs to try the Sunny 16 rule.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, and Angel is late again, but you are here, man. You got the end, but you are here. We are happy you are here, man.
I'm looking because I do believe you still can get the halves. If I'm not mistaken, you have to go into the menu.
And I answered the same question, but I was talking about white balance instead of talking about exposure. I think all the beginners has this thing of what is the formula to get the perfect exposure. There are no formulas. You can use like Sunny 16 rule to try to get close to it, but it's always your eyes. Or I'll make Rom happy now. This. I not even brought my light meter anymore. It's not even in the desk anymore. That's your fault, Rom.
Hey, I'm telling you, this little card right here, like I'm looking at my camera, right? And I got the little thing stuck out so I could see the histogram. And if I do like this, I could see exactly
what Rom is teaching right now. Sorry to interrupt. Is a very important thing. It's a very important thing. Sorry.
No, it's fine. When you look at the histogram, okay, the histogram is the shades from black to white. Okay. All cameras see 18% gray as the middle gray. Some people say Kodak says 12. Whatever, it's in the middle, right? This little card right here, your camera, no matter which camera you're using, this is that middle point. So when you're looking at
looking for is exactly what she's looking for.
And if you're looking to find your camera specific in the very center, this is going to throw a small, like, what do they call that? It's like a small spike, right? And you'll see that spike move. Like if I do like this, I could see that spike moving. So I now know which spike it is. And now you point it at the camera and you will literally see that middle spike. Like right now, I know I'm not the best thing to look at because I don't ever get on this side of the camera normally. But right now, I am perfectly exposed.
I'm 1/3 Under. The point is, when you see your histogram, you're gonna see a lot of information there. So next time you're shooting, get one of those gray cards, Rome's one, because mine is too small.
This is $7, guys. $7.
How much for a light meter in the States?
A light meter, I mean, they start at 225? I think is like the cheapest that you can get an actual good light meter. And if you look at this little flexible $7 card does exactly what a light meter does. Okay. And I shoved this in my pocket. I mean, it's just now pull it out. Boom. Hey, there we go. Okay. Now we're good. Now, the one thing that I also tell people is know what you want to have your settings on and then adjust your light to your settings. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So if I wanted to be at, say, 2.8, all right, I know I want to shoot at 2.8. I have to. I want to have it like really close where the eyes pop, but I want the face to fall off, right? So I'll go to 2.8. I know I'm going to be at 200. I'm going to shoot it at 1/125th of a second with an ISO 100. Actually, sometimes I shoot ISO 50. And that's only because I want the most clear image that I possibly can. Okay. Now, when I do that, I will pull out the gray card. I'll put it in front of them, and I will literally watch the little spike, and I will adjust the power of the light until that spike gets to where I need it to be.
That's for continuous light.
That's for both. I'll take a shot, look at it, but now
that's the point.
But now with the EOS R, which is what I've been using for portraits, when you're looking through the EVF or the back of the camera, you can actually see the histogram in live motion.
So you can use the viewfinder where you put your eye on it, and just see the histogram. That's one thing that I'm crazy about it, because every time I want to use the histogram, I have to turn to live view mode and keep. And in the sun, it's kind of hard.
I hate the back of the camera, and a lot of times, the back of the camera can fool you. Now, one thing that I always tell all my younger students is to turn off the color of the back of your camera. Put it in monochrome.
See the light.
You shoot in RAW, which means all your color, everything is going to be there, okay? What you want to do is put it in monochrome so that way you're only seeing light intensity.
Just in case, remember to set your white balance before, okay?
Yeah, that would be pretty important.
It doesn't make any difference because you have the RAW, but if you set it, it's going to give you less work in post.
But here's the thing. If you shoot at 5600K, okay, which is sun, you're basically within, a small range of any light, okay? Now, if you're talking about like this lamp back here, if you're shooting with lamps, you're down at the 2600K. You don't want to be down here because it's going to look orange, okay? Now, sometimes you want to get creative. Creative lighting takes a mixture of both, right? So you'll shoot at 2600K, make the background blue, because that wouldn't be there. That would be a white light. And then you put a CTO, which is supposed to make your light into that light. And now you got a whole blue background with regular light. So
Rome just introduced to you what I did here. What I just did here. Can you see that light? The light's not white, it's yellow. It's really yellow, but it's not as much as yellow as suppose. This light has a CTO on it, so it's getting orange, and I set the white balance for this. So this one that is 50, I think it's 5500 Kelvin, there is a white light, it's turning blue in my face.
Yep.
Just because I changed my white balance.
So, you can get creative with white balance, but you got to understand white balance. And to understand white balance, basically, You can look at a chart. They got tons of them out there. But the way I look at it is if it's a desk lamp like this one, I know I'm around 26 to 2800 Kelvin. It's a warm color, right? When I look at my constant lights that are 5600K, I know that that's 5600K. It's a white light. And then when I look at, twilight sky, right? When it's a dark bluish, light bluish color just before it becomes dark, I know that that's a blue color. And you can actually set your camera up higher to get that blue color back to normal. Okay. There's a lot of differences. You got tungsten, you got fluorescence, you got, all these different ones. And without understanding where they are, you can always just switch to them. And again, the EOS R has been awesome about this because you can actually watch it.
Angel, that's a good question.
Auto white balance versus manual white balance. Is one better than the other? I hate auto for anything.
I don't shoot auto.
But I'm just saying that.
To be honest, why I don't shoot auto is because of color cast. It's not even because the camera cannot find the right white balance. It's because if you have two color lights, the color cast will just invade and you don't have any control of it.
Yeah. And another thing with auto white balance is, like he said, it's when you hit multiple light sources. Like if you're in a ceremony, say a wedding, okay, you may have 5-10 different light sources. So which one's your camera going to go with?
There is the light sources from the church, usually yellow ones.
Yeah.
There is the filmmaker with that huge LED panel pointed, usually 55 or 5600 Kelvin.
Right.
White one. And
you have candles.
There are candles. There are, I don't know how it's in the States, but here brides choose to put like some amber lights or red lights on the church and the reception.
And then you got the windows with natural light coming in. And there could be sun coming in that. So, I mean, it depends on what you're wanting out of your image. And then this is where I like flash, is because I don't have to guess. I know I can have it at 5200K for some of the flashes and 5400K for other flashes. I actually put on the side of all my flashes what it is, just because if turmoil hits, I could just look and go, okay, that's 5200. I'm going with that.
All my lights, all my continuous here, all my LEDs, they come written in the side, and my strobes back there, my monolights, they come written in the side. What is the color temperature?
Yeah, but I make it really big, so when I'm away from it, I can look fast. But at the same time, auto white balance works, and like it works when you're running and gunning. Okay, if you don't have time to look at it and make that change, because remember, anytime you do an adjustment in Photoshop or you do an adjustment in post, you're actually reducing some of that quality. And people don't think about that. You're digitally enhancing it each time. Whereas if you're setting it, you're not really digitally enhancing it. You're getting a pure image. And that's the one thing. Now, can you do it? Sure. Do we do it all the time? Okay, I'm not saying you can't.
And I think that we are talking about post, as we are talking about post. There's another thing. Getting the image more close to what you want on camera, you save your time. Okay, it's just the white balance. But if every shoot you have to just change the white balance, you have to just put more light in the eye socket because you didn't position your light. If you are shooting a lot, this will consume your time.
Oh gosh, will it? I mean, this will shave hours. getting it right in camera is very important. And it's important not because, it's supposed to be that way. No, it's not that. It's how much time are you going to spend on that image later? And then if you shoot 600 images, are you going to do it for all 600 images? I mean, if you're going to go in there and tweak that white balance on every one of those images, have fun with that, because I don't do it.
Just imagine this situation. You just got a green overcast from a fluorescent light in the bright, but you are using the yellow settings. So,
yeah,
what you do? You're gonna fix it. Each one of them. You're gonna go to the dress and select the dress and take the green overcast of it.
Do a hue set. So that's one thing that
Pam is here. Pam is here.
Hey, Pam. Oh, thanks, Pam. We love you. But it's interesting when you see people that talk about, oh, well, I just use auto and then I'll fix it in post. You're looking at hours of time because every image now is going to be different.
That's the other point.
Every image is going to have a variance. And that's what you don't want as a photographer. You want to make sure that you control as much as you can and make as minimal time editing as possible.
Bulk editing, just...
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Lightroom guy, never will be. I'm telling that right now. But in Bridge, you can do the same thing. And I take a series of shots. So if I have her sitting on a chair, I'll do like 5 or 6 shots there. If I have her standing, I'll do 5 or 6 shots there. But that series of shots, I can adjust basically all at the same time. So I don't have to sit there and go shot by shot by shot by shot by shot to fix each one. Of course, some people say, well, just pick the best ones you got. Yeah, well, I do that. But I also use shots for advertising. I use shots for marketing.
Pam doesn't like Lightroom too.
I know. That's why I like her. So, but the fact is, when you speed up that process, okay, one thing that people don't realize when they get into photography is the emotional status of the individuals. Okay, when I shoot, say, a family or a senior, right? When you shoot those seniors, okay, endorphins are going when they're getting shot. They are having a blast or not, depends on how you do your shoots. But in mine, they're having a blast. They're having fun. Parents are involved. I like to get them to hold their, just say this is a reflector. I like mom to be like this. And I'd tell the kids, hey, look at that. She's hiding. Because they don't want to shut up and tell the kid what to do. I'm just being honest. That's what happens. The best part about it is that emotion of that series of shots and the whole shoot starts to dwindle the second they walk out. Okay. So the faster you can have your edits done, the more money you're going to make. Period. If you're one of those that takes a week, you just lost $600 to $800. I guarantee it.
Ron, what about those mini sessions you did?
You had mini sessions is a whole different ballgame. That's a whole different. I mean, that's another show. Because many sessions are definitely...
I'm talking about the amount of pictures, because you shoot like, I don't know, 10 people in the same day? 20 people in the same day?
How many sessions usually is one every 15 minutes.
How many pictures you have to edit at the end of this?
Usually 5 to 6 per person. Mini sessions are not there for full-blown shoots. They're staged and they're 100%. I know what they're going to do. It's a quick in and out, in and out, in and out. And it's usually 4 poses. And I'm done with them in probably 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And then I'm setting up for the next one. So mini sessions are a good money maker, especially if you're getting excellent shots with them. And again, it's immediate turnarounds. If you're able to shoot them, get 15 minutes of a shot, do 15-minute, like a 10-minute edit, and turn around, sell them right there on the spot, I guarantee you are going to sell more stuff. And it's funny because I did that probably about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. And
battery die.
No, you still hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, there we go.
You're back.
All right, so I'm back, but
yeah, we use Canon.
well, I think it's because I wasn't really moving. When the camera sees there's nothing moving, it'll shut off. One thing about it is that when I shoot, I have anywhere between 4 and 7 shots. I pull them into Photoshop. I quickly hurry up and I do them right there in front of them. I don't care. I get it done. They're loving the shots. And guess what? I sell 20 by 30s. That's $250 a pop. And I'll sell them 3. Just right there.
Easy money, fast money. Not easy money, but fast money.
It's not easy. You got to work your butt off, but it's the emotional selling. Emotional selling is what will sell images every single time. With seniors, I try to get them done either same day or next day. And the reason why is because of that emotional value. You built a repertoire with them. You've had a great time with them. They've seen the shots on the back of the camera, so they kind of know some of it. Now we're moving into, you have to edit, right? Now, some people will say, show them unedited and then edit the ones they want. I said, why? You just spent
fast
2 to 4 hours and you're just going to show them unedited images? Why not scrub it, pull out the top 15 images, edit those top 15 images, make a slideshow, and I do this all in less than an hour. Usually they'll go to lunch, I'll edit, I'll get all that done, I'll put them into a small slideshow, and then they'll come back in after lunch, and then I'm doing the presentation. So
it's just a preset. You can leave it preset to just drag the pictures there, and it's done.
Yeah, I use the iPad, and I put all the images on that iPad.
And now with iPads, you have Photoshop with that Apple Pen.
Yeah, don't do that.
They say it's really good. Didn't try yet. I don't have an iPad. I use Samsung.
No.
Anyway, we are out of time.
Oh, it's been an hour already?
1 hour and 14 minutes.
God, I'm sorry. When I get talking about photography, I love it. So
yeah.
This has definitely been a fun Q&A, in my opinion.
Some things, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to tell your photographer friends. We are here every Thursday, 6 p.m. CST.
Let's get some questions. Come on. They need to throw us some more questions. This is fun. I'm enjoying it.
So no more questions. We stay more 50 minutes.
Oh, no. I'm talking about hit us up with questions. So that way when we come back on, we got more stuff to give them.
In our social networks. 2 things we didn't mention. Just tag us on Instagram with your questions. Post a picture, tag us. Use our hashtag #PhotoTalkShow so we can see the questions and bring it to the next live.
Yeah, if you want us to analyze a photo or see what you've done and you had a question about it, yeah, tag us. We'll look at it. We'll make sure you put your settings on there because that's very important.
Yeah.
So we know how you took that shot. It's
If
not
you're
for
using light, just kind
yeah,
of all the light setup.
which lights you had, stuff like that. We need to know all that so we can actually fully give you a true review. Because if I just look at an image, I can say, okay, I know what that was in f-stop probably.
And
You know,
honestly, this live is about, of course, sharing a bit of what we know, but it's about building community. So
right.
we want to talk. We want you to share. Bring our pictures. Let's talk. Let's
Basically look at us as being the new Facebook.
yeah, exactly.
You
Think
know,
think about this as a Facebook group. We want to talk, so let's talk.
and if you have any issues or any problems or anything, we're here. And I'm an active photographer. You can see my stuff right there on the wall. So remind me next week and I'll post on Nikon, Canon, and Sony pages.
Ooh.
Bam. You trying to make me go big or what? Go big or go home, right? So, but like I said, we're here so everyone's learning, and if you have an idea or something of a show or something that you'd like to see, let us know. Again, we are spending 1 hour a day to help you and to give you our advice. And, I've been shooting since 1997. I have a lot of experience behind a camera.
I'm not shooting since that time because I'm not that old.
Yeah, Angel, you could send one.
I'm old.
I got what you just said. But let's see, Angel. Yes, you could CC us or message us, whatever. So, again, that was a quick rundown. Hopefully, we answered those questions. We tried to.
We still have
say again.
We still have a list of questions that we're gonna bring to the show. But man, hit us. We are here for that.
Yeah, and pretty soon we're going to start doing recordings of actual movements and stuff like that, which we'll be able to break down better, and it won't be off the cuff like it is on this. The reason why we're doing that is, again, to give you guys the info and to show you. Like right now, we can only use software to show things, but as you can see, I found a bug. They owe me money. But at the same time, this is the learning group. I mean, this is what we want to do. We want everybody to learn how to do what we do, because if we don't teach it, it's going to die.
Exactly. And YouTube's kind of new for us. We are just learning as we go.
Super new.
Yeah. Like 4 shows new. But we already have some ideas. We are already preparing some instructional videos so we can post and you can see with more details. We probably for the next month, I don't know, we're gonna bring you live straight from the studio while shooting. So there are so many projects behind. There will be some really good and exciting news. And we're gonna make this happen.
Yep. I mean, we're growing, and we're glad you're with us because
we are growing fast,
super fast. Actually,
this is our first show over 1,000 followers, and we are already 1,400 followers.
Are you serious?
We were less than 1,000 last week, I guess, or about 1,000. About 1,000. I think we just crossed 1,000. And now we are already 1,400. So we are growing fast.
Oh, wow. Okay. So evidently we're doing good. So, again, I've never done video. And I'm not a video guy. So this guy's been kind of coaching me over from Brazil to get me to get microphones to work and all that. I'm clueless with this stuff.
We are.
That's all.
We are doing the most important thing. Most important thing on photography. We are collaborating.
Collaboration, you know, and that's the thing that we're doing with this show. And we're hoping you guys like it. We hope you guys are enjoying it. We hope you learned something. And each week we'll be back.
Exactly. Okay, so that's it for today. That's wrap it up. I always want to say that.
That's a wrap.
This is new for me. I'm speaking English live on YouTube.
Right?
Okay. So,
and he does pretty well, I think. Oh, please. I'm sure Pam understands you.
We see you in the next week. Thank you, Rom.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Y'all have a great day.